Hey everyone, how you doing? Barry and Tekking back again. That's a very festive hat you're wearing, Barry. I like it. Don't you like Barry's hat? Vote 5 stars for Barry's hat. If this is YouTube back in 2007. I'm very old. Yeah, that's back in the old days, back in the first days of YouTube. It used to be the star system. Now it's just all thumbs. Anyway, have a bit of a special video for you all today because I don't know if you've heard, Chapter 1000 is coming in like the next few weeks, like January 4th. It's really not that big of a deal. But yeah, because Chapter 1000 is happening, I thought it would be pertinent to go back and look at Chapter 100 of the series, right? Because Chapter 100 is a very landmark chapter in One Piece. It's the chapter where the Straw Hats depart Log Town, they declare their dreams amidst the stormy skies of the East, heading toward Reverse Mountain and the Grand Line, okay? Because Oda really wanted their Grand Line journey to begin at Chapter 1000, okay? And so there's a lot of other stuff going on here. The first big reveal of Dragon happens in this chapter, and you got some stuff with Smoker, some stuff with Zoro, some stuff with Buggy, so it's really cool. And on top of that, as Artur shared, and a few people I saw shared this, I don't know if this is chapter 999 and 1000 are going to both have like a double spread, but I've seen this. This is like a updated version of the Chapter 100 spread, which is right here, so you can see, like, the comparisons, right, like the skull and everything. Now, we only get to see half of it that's been revealed so far. The spread in its full entirety will be revealed when the chapters come out, but you could definitely see the inspiration here. You can definitely see that Oda went back to Chapter 100 and modified the cover spread to include all of the Straw Hats, including Jinbei, which will be featured in Chapter 1000, right? So, I can feel, since Oda went back and did that for Chapter 100, I don't know, maybe there'll be some other stuff that happens in Chapter 100 that'll foreshadow stuff that happens in Chapter 1000. Maybe Oda will take a few things in, like Chapter 100 was the first time Dragon showed up, maybe Dragon will appear in Chapter 1000. Or if not the Dragon, maybe a Dragon will appear. Maybe Kaido will probably appear in Chapter 1000. I am assuming so. So, whatever. I'm just gonna look at Chapter 100 today. This is not gonna be an in-depth review. I'm just going to look through it and just like note certain things that I find interesting that may or may not connect back to Chapter 1000. But we're almost there. This has been a long, long journey. Has anybody in my audience been reading One Piece since Chapter 100? Like, since the East Blue? I don't even know how you would have gained access to manga back then, because we're talking like the early 2000s. I do remember that Shonen Jump used to have a print release in the States. Like, you could go to like your local gas station or Walmart and find like Shonen Jump on the shelves, and they would have One Piece in there, but I don't know when that first started. I don't think that started until like maybe 2002, 2003, something like that. So really early on, I'm curious of how many people have been reading this. But if you've been around, if you've been reading One Piece since Chapter 100 came out in the East Blue all the way till now, this must be a very special occasion for you, I would quite imagine. Okay, the first big thing I want to bring up is, of course, the first page, Dragon's introduction. Okay, we don't know it's Dragon yet. We just know it's a guy that wears a really cool cloak and he's got a badass face tattoo, and that's all we know. And honestly, in 900 chapters, we don't know really much more about Dragon. We know he's the leader of the Revolutionary Army, we know he's Luffy's dad, we know he's Garp's son, but beyond that, don't really know much more about him. 900 chapters, we still don't even know his devil fruit, but rain and fog and hail and wind have just been whipped up out of nowhere. This massive thunderstorm seemingly came out of nowhere. The lightning bolt saved Luffy last chapter, right? And so all the people are kind of like leaving the streets, and Dragon is just walking through the streets to an unspecified destination. And two things that are notable that are going on here. The first thing is Dragon's words, what he's saying to himself, and also the narrator comes on and begins to quote something that Goldie Rogers said. Okay, so Dragon's walking through the streets, and you hear the narrator cue up and say, "These things cannot be stopped. An inherited strength of will, one's dreams, the ebb and flow of the ages. As long as people hunger for freedom, these things will exist. Pirate King Gold Roger." Of course, it only says Gold Roger here because we don't even know his name is Gold D. Roger yet. Okay, so a few things about that. Now, that quote has been attributed to Roger plenty of different times in the story. I want to break this down and look at a few more aspects of the things he's saying. And once again, translations, there's ones that are a little bit different from this. I'm going with the Viz, of course, but I just want to bring this up because it's rather interesting. He mentions these three things that will not vanish from the earth. They will always be around, and these three things that will always exist are the inherited strength of will, is the first thing. Okay, the inherited will is a huge theme in One Piece. Okay, it's not so much about blood relations to each other. It's more about the will that you carry, and that's what the will of D kind of represents. I've said this before. I don't think the clan of D is like a literal familial clan, like all of them are connected by blood or something like that. There's been theories for years that Roger has to have some blood relation to Luffy or somebody to make it more palpable or more powerful, right? That's not the case. In fact, I think that's the exact opposite of what Oda's really going for here. Yeah, there's familial connection, sure, like, Luffy is the son of Dragon and all that stuff, but once again, Luffy doesn't really care that Dragon is his dad. Luffy's not like, oh, that's my dad, I need to go see him. Luffy doesn't really care about anything like that, right? So it's way more about the inherited will of the story, Luffy carrying on Roger and Shanks' will, perhaps Blackbeard carrying on the will of Rocksteady Zebek, so there's like two sides of this coin, like this yin and yang, where Luffy is vying to become king of the pirates and having a great adventure, and maybe Blackbeard and Zebek's, their goals were more, sinister, to try to take over the world and rule it. Luffy's not aiming for that, okay? And so Roger also didn't want to rule the world either, okay? So it's two very different, interesting people there, both carrying the will of D. Roger and Zebek carry the will of D, Blackbeard and Luffy carry the will of D, but it could be seen throughout the entire story, the inherited will. And it's not even like it has to be a member of the will of D to carry on the inherited will of these people, right? There's plenty of people throughout, like, look at Chopper. Chopper carries on Hiraluk's will, and they didn't have, Chopper's not like Tony D Chopper or whatever like that. So the inherited will, constant theme of One Piece, and even though the beginnings of it happened, even before chapter 100, I think the beginnings of this will existed, it's something that carries throughout the rest of the entire manga, okay? So that's definitely something I wanted to bring up, the inherited will. The next thing he brings up are the dreams of people, all right? So this is, once again, this ties back into something Blackbeard said at Jaya, like, the age of the dreamers will never end, or the age of pirates' dreams will never die. You go for it, kid. You find that Sky Island and you punch God in the face. And Luffy, of course, is like, you know what, Blackbeard, he doesn't know his name's Blackbeard yet. You know what, random guy I met at that bar, I don't like you, but I like the kind of stuff you say with the dreams, sure. Luffy doesn't say that. Luffy just kind of looks at Blackbeard and is just like, and then just walks away, But at any rate, the age of dreamers, okay? Now, what could this reflect back to? Perhaps maybe Joy Boy, the progenitor of possibly the entire D-Clan, the man that existed during the Void Century and set forth maybe the dreams, like, of, the Poseidon, not the Poseidon, the Noah connected to the Poseidon and the ancient weapons and all that stuff. That might connect back to Joy Boy in some way whenever I hear someone's dreams, okay? And of course, maybe it was Joy Boy's dream to live in a world that was free of the tyranny of the world government, and this dream wasn't able to be fulfilled during his own lifetime, but maybe over the course of centuries, and now in the present storyline, that Joy Boy's dream, his ambition, the promise, whatever you want to call it, will finally be made manifest through Luffy and the other Straw Hats and the other bearers of the Will of D, and his dream will be able to be, fulfilled finally. So that's what I think of when I think of one's dreams, when Roger was speaking of. And then the last thing is the ebb and flow of the ages. Back then and for most of the story, you could just say, oh, he's basically saying, like, time always marches on. That this is something that can never be stopped. The ages will always change. Generations will always move on. That's just the ebb and flow of time. It's just what it is. It's constant. You can't do anything about it. Yeah, okay. And then Toki happened. Toki became a thing. So now I'm starting to think, when I hear of the inherited will, I think of Roger and Luffy and the Will of D in general. And when I hear of one's dreams, I think of Joy Boy. And he mentions the ebb and flow of the ages. Now I'm starting to think of Toki and her time-traveling adventure, which we still don't know much about, really, right? Where the whole origin of that started, okay? So, I don't know. I might be reaching a little bit here, but going through this quotation that Roger spoke, those are the things that pop into my head now, knowing what we know 900 chapters later, okay? So that's that. Now, after that quotation, Dragon, I'm imagining Dragon is kind of like having the narration in his head, like as Dragon is walking, toward where he's going, we'll get to that, he just thinks of Roger and thinks of the stuff he said, and then Dragon says, A pirate, eh? Well, that's fine too, or why not, or not a bad idea, right? He's thinking of this revolving around Luffy. Luffy declared, I'm gonna be king of the pirates, I'm going out to sea, I'm gonna find the One Piece, I'm gonna, go to the Grand Line and all that. And Dragon is just kind of, heading toward Luffy, heading toward his son to make sure he can escape the island, thinking about Roger saying those things, and also coming to the realization of like, my son wants to be a pirate, huh? Well, why not? Not a bad idea. That's fine, too. That's fine, too, revolving around the whole idea that he is, of course, a revolutionary dragon, but the idea of it's like, well, he's not going to be a revolutionary like me. He doesn't have a focused goal like I do to get rid of the Tenryubito and everything. But being a pirate, that's not a bad idea either, because you're somebody that's challenging the Tenryubito. You're challenging the world government. And if you become a really strong pirate, you will be able to change the world. And I think Dragon has high hopes for his son and the kind of will that he embodies. And I think he's thinking, you know what, Luffy, you do it the way you got to do it. I'm going to do it the way I'm going to do it, obviously, and Garp is going to do it a completely different way, but we're all vying for the same thing. We're all kind of vying for freedom, all right? And so I think, once again, maybe I'm looking at this a little bit too much here, but I think in this one scene right there, and maybe the expression on Dragon's face looks kind of evil. He's just like, ha ha ha, a pirate, eh? Well, that's fine, too. He looks a little bit evil, but I think right there in that moment, there's a little bit of pride that Dragon has in Luffy. It's just a foregone conclusion at this point in their lives. Luffy and Dragon are not going to have the father-son kind of relationship, right? I mean, Luffy was raised by Garp ever since he was a really little kid. Luffy doesn't even remember what his dad looked like. The first time he found out that his dad was Dragon was, later on, when Garp told him, and then he sees his picture in the newspaper. Like, that was recent. That was during Totland. Luffy saw the picture. He's like, what? That's my dad? So, Luffy's already 19 years old. I don't think you're ever going to get to a point where it's like, Dad! Son! And then they hug, and then they're like, we're never gonna be separated again. Yeah, that's alright, son. Sorry I've been such a crappy dad, but, I had to lead a revolution. You know how it goes. But from here on out, we'll be, father and son, doing things together, right? No, there's not gonna be anything like that. Dragon very clearly does not seem interested in being Luffy's dad, and Luffy, also does not seem to be interested in being Dragon's son, But I think still, at that moment right there, Dragon maybe felt a little bit of pride in his child, of like, alright, Luffy's gonna go out to sea and be a pirate. Alright, I'll help him out as much as I can, right? That's the idea we got there. Continuing on, though, a few other things that happen in this chapter, just to kind of breeze through it. Buggy is, of course, struck by lightning, but he recovers. I only wanted to bring up this scene is because there's one translation. It's not in the official Viz. In the Viz, he just says, blast that cursed no-good rubber boy! But in this translation, he has the devil's luck, so had to throw that in there just as a shout out to One Piece D&D, of course. But Buggy recovers. Smoker shows up with his Moku Moku no Mi, his smoke powers, captures pretty much everybody at that one moment there with his smoke abilities. So Buggy and Alvida can't go chasing after Luffy at this point. Smoker succeeds in that. And then Smoker, of course, gets on his Billower bike, or I think in the 4Kids it was his Smog Hog, and he heads after Luffy and Sanji and Zoro before they get to the port, right? We also have a cool scene between Tashigi and Zoro. This is something I completely forgot about in the chapter. I didn't even remember this happened. By the way, this chapter is titled, it's titled, like, The Legend Begins or something. The Legend Begins. Yeah, it's literally titled that. So, I don't know. Maybe in Chapter 1000 we'll get, like, The Legend Continues, or The Legend Lives On, or something like that. Maybe that'll be Chapter 1000. We need to start thinking about what Chapter 1000 is going to be titled, guys. So, just keep that in mind. Chapter 100, The Legend Begins. What's the natural... The Legend Begins anew! I don't know. Or The Legend's Beginning, and we get a flashback. Who knows? But, yeah, we get a moment between Tashigi and Zoro, where Zoro and Luffy and Sanji, they're running through the streets trying to get back to the Mary, and then freaking Tashigi just steps out there with her sword. She now knows who Zoro is. They met earlier in the arc, but she didn't know who Zoro was, and so now she realizes this is the pirate hunter, Zoro, and now he's tagging along with, Luffy. Now, Zoro doesn't have a bounty at this point, but Luffy certainly does, and so she's like, how dare you lie to me about that? I'm gonna take your Wado Ichimonji because that's my goal, that's my ambition, right? And so Zoro's like, Luffy, Sanji, you guys go on ahead, I'll deal with her, okay? And then they clash in the streets, and Sanji's like, how dare you attack a woman? And Luffy's like, come on, we gotta get going. You know, he's got this. He said he's got this, okay? Zoro, you got this? I got this, Luffy. Okay, he's got this. So, they have a moment, and of course the fight does not last long. For one thing, Zoro is in a hurry, and also he's just stronger than Tashigi at this point, but it's an interesting moment where she's clearly defeated, and her Shigure gets knocked out of her hands, and Zoro kind of does the thing where his sword is like close to her head, but he doesn't actually cut her, and, you know, Tashigi's like, did you take it easy on me because I was a woman? How dare you? That's so insulting. And Zoro's about to walk away, and he just, like, it bothers him, so he turns around, he's just like, I don't have a problem with your gender, I have a problem with your damn face! And Tashigi's like, wait, what? Okay, so you're just calling me ugly now? Like, no, not that. No, it's when I was growing up, I had a friend, and she died. She fell down some stairs, or she got defeated in a dojo, or, you know, what? I'm not really sure how she died, but she died, that's the point, and you look just like her, and it's really weirding me out, right, lady? So quit stealing her image. And Tashigi's like, what? I've never even met this person. I have no idea who you're talking about. If anything, she stole my image. And so Zoro and her have like a back and forth, but eventually Zoro just leaves, okay? And so, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would have loved Tashigi to show up in Wano because it's a land full of samurai and she's the sword nerd, you know? And so I just wanted to bring that up. And I completely forgot about it, that Tashigi and Zoro had a little moment in this chapter where Zoro talks about Kuina. I don't think he uses Kuina's actual name, but he mentions, like, I had a friend growing up that looks a lot like you. And then later on, we find out the whole thing during Wano about Kozaburo Shimosuke, who left Wano 50-something years ago, founded Shimosuke Village in the east. His son is Kozaburo, who was the father of Kuina, and also the teacher of Zoro. Okay, so there you go. It all connects back together, which I think it's likely, it's possible that Kuina and Tashigi are distant cousins, or, you know, related in that capacity in some way. You know, they're not like, you know, sisters or anything, but they are related, and there's therefore the family resemblance. Luffy fights against Smoker, and nothing really to mention about this. Luffy handily gets his ass kicked because he doesn't know hockey, and of course Smoker is a Logia. But I love this scene, and I've talked about this with Nux before, and it's great, because let's say YouTube existed back then, and I was doing One Piece chapter reviews during, like, chapter 100, like, when this first came out. You'd be sitting there, everybody would be sitting there like, holy crap, Smoker's invincible! How the hell are you supposed to beat this guy? He's made of smoke, you know. Sanji tries to kick him in the face, and Smoker's just like, I don't have time for small fries. Luffy tries to punch him, it just goes right through his body, and Smoker just, like, gwomps over Luffy and holds him down and, like, face plants him into the freaking pavement. You'd be sitting there like, man, this guy is ridiculously strong. How can you get any stronger than that? Quite easily, in fact, yes, throughout this entire story. You can get very, very stronger than Smoker, yeah. But I just wanted to bring that up there because it's crazy, you know, seeing Luffy curb stomp so easily. Well, that was his first big one in the story, because there's just literally nothing he could do to Smoker. It's just impossible, right? At that point in the story. Of course, Sanji and Zoro go on ahead. Luffy's on the ground. He's about to be defeated. Smoker's about to take out his staff thing with the sea prism and, you know, impale Luffy with it or, like, hold him down. But then Dragon shows up at the last instant, grabs Smoker's arm, or grabs the, you know, the staff, and so he manages to use his gust powers to get Luffy to escape, you know. And of course, Smoker, as a member of the Marines, notices who Dragon is immediately. Dragon is the world's most wanted man, so he's like, Dragon! You're at the top of the government's most wanted list. What are you doing here? And Dragon's like, ha 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 ha. He's just like, he doesn't even laugh. He's just kind of smirking the entire chapter, like, I'm awesome. I'm Dragon. And so after the gust, you know, sweeps Luffy away to the end of the street towards the port, Dragon and Smoker are left there, and they don't really fight, and I think Smoker realizes that he can't fight Dragon. He would lose. So Smoker's just there like, Dragon, what the hell are you doing? What's your angle? Why would you let him go? What's he to you? And then Dragon is just like, why would I stop someone from setting sail? So Dragon doesn't explain the whole thing to Smoker, you know, like who Luffy is or anything. He's just just like, you know, I'm just passing through. Sorry, Barry. I'm just passing through, launched a lightning bolt or two, you know, and helping some pirates get to the ocean. You know, I'm literally the world's most wanted man. Do I need to answer to you, Marine Captain, and out in the middle of nowhere in the East Blue? It's like, I think not. And so, yeah, Dragon just kind of does that, and they don't fight or anything, and they just kind of depart there. Smoker's just kind of like, bah! And then just walks away, because what else is he gonna do, right? He goes back to the base. And it's at the base that he's like, you know what, you know, get the ships ready, we're going to the Grand Line, men. And one of the Marines is like, but sir, that's not your jurisdiction. You're just going to abandon your post here? Like, you're the Marine captain in charge of Logtown. You're just going to abandon your post and go to the Grand Line? What am I supposed to tell HQ? And Smoker's just like, tell him to get out of my business, or tell him, you know, you don't tell me what to do, or whatever. I go where I want. I'm Smoker, damn it. So that's great. I love that, because, like, in any real-world context, like, you would just be freaking, you'd be court-martialed, like, immediately. Like, yeah, I know I'm in charge of this one island, but screw it, I'm going over there. And it's like, yeah, I would imagine maybe the pirates kind of ran amok in Logtown for a little while after this, you know, until they managed to get... It's like, what? Smoker just abandoned his post? Yeah, he went to the Grand Line to capture Straw Hat. All right, well, let's send a replacement. You can't just do that, but he's Smoker, and he did it, and Tashigi followed him, and I guess because Smoker has the power of a Logia, and he has a pretty good track record so far in the Marines, I guess they didn't reprimand him too bad. They let him go to the Grand Line to pursue Luffy, all the way to Alabasta, of course, and beyond. But I just kind of find that funny. It was just like, he's like, well, let's file a report, let's send it in, let me contact HQ to get permission to follow. No, he's just like, nah, screw it, I'm going after them. You know, leave some Marines here in town, whatever, I don't care. I'm going after Luffy. So, yeah, he has to make sure, because, once again, Smoker has, like, a perfect record, like, subduing the pirates at Logtown, so he's like, that perfect record's gonna stand. Alright. So, then we have a moment with Buggy that's really cool, and I just wanted to bring that up because Buggy says to his crew, you know, hoist anchor, we're heading to the Grand Line. And then he has a line where he says, oh, Grand Line, how nostalgic, how I've missed you. So, that's, of course, setting up a lot of stuff that, of course, Buggy traveled with Roger and Shanks and that crew back in the day, and then after Roger was executed, he decided just to stay in the East Blue. But now that Luffy's kind of pissed him off sufficiently, and after he's survived so many attempts to, like, eliminate him, Buggy's pretty mad. So he's just like, you know what? Screw it! We're going back to the Grand Line, even though Buggy knows full well how dangerous that place is. He spent all of his formative years there. He knows Shanks is there. He knows all these dangerous, you know, the Yonko are there, and all these really strong Marines are there. But his, like, hatred for Luffy is so immense that he's like, I will follow him into the Grand Line. He's not getting away from this, you know, he's not getting off scot-free. I'm following him in a flashy way, right? And of course, Buggy also knows there's a lot of treasure in the Grand Line, so maybe this is his moment to kind of, maybe Buggy was kind of in like a funk. You know, he was just kind of in this malaise where he was like, after Roger died, he made his crew, but he was just kind of hanging out in the East, and he's just like, yeah, man, I used to travel with the Pirate King on the Grand Line in the New World. Like, I almost walked on the final island, and I'm just sitting here in the East firing buggy balls at a pet store. Like, what has become of my life? You know, and now I think he's finally riled up, and he's like, you know, we're going back to the Grand Line. We're doing this. So, nice little moment there for Buggy. And then, finally, the only other thing left, really, is the Straw Hats heading toward the lighthouse. They all get aboard the ship. They set sail. The storm is still going on. Maybe Dragon is helping them out a little bit more with some gusts. And they see the lighthouse, and they all declare their dreams. They have the barrel, and they all slam their feet down on the barrel. You know, Luffy's like, to be the Pirate King. Zoro's to be the greatest swordsman. Nami's to make a map of the world. Usopp's to be a brave warrior of the sea. Sanji is to find the All Blue. They kick the barrel, it crashes apart, and then they sail toward the freaking stormy skies of Reverse Mountain that loom above them. Okay, so there we go. That's the end of chapter 100 of One Piece. And like I said, a lot of interesting stuff. Just as a recap, we got the quotation from Goldie Roger that I think carries way more water now than it did then. The line from Dragon, you know, about being a pirate, that's fine too. We got Tashigi encountering Zoro and their little back and forth there. That might be leading up to something here. We got Dragons. Oh, I forgot to bring that up. Oh, that was one more thing I forgot to mention. Okay, so we'll end out with this. Okay. Another thing that Dragon says to Smoker before, they go their separate ways is Dragon says, the world is still waiting for our answer. Okay? Now that we know what happened with Roger and all of their crew when they arrived at Laugh Tale, what happened? Well, they got there too early. That was the statement. Like, we got there too early. We hastened things. Even Rayleigh says this to the Straw Hats at Sabaody. Like, we rushed into things. Take your time, okay? Take the right pace, okay? So to imply that when Dragon said that, the world is still waiting for our response, it's not like the world, we could have given an answer at any time before this and we just haven't yet. It's like, quite literally, there's a certain time and probably a certain place where this answer has to be spoken or has to be acted out, whatever answer it is. And I think that time and place, the time is coming very close, in the next few months or whatever of One Piece calendar, and the location is Laugh Tale. So honestly, when the Straw Hats reach Laugh Tale, maybe there'll have to be some answer they'll have to speak, or some action they'll have to perform, or something else that they'll witness. They'll witness the same thing that Roger witnessed and laughed. Now, we don't know what it was that Roger and the crew saw, but imagine Roger landed on Laugh Tale. They went through this whole adventure to try to get there. They get to Laugh Tale. They finally make it to the final mysterious island of the New World, and they just see like a giant clock. A giant clock that's like, thanks for arriving at Laugh Tale, but you're about 25 years too early. There's something that you need to do, something that we need somebody to do, the answer the world is waiting for, or the answer that Joy Boy is waiting for, but it has to come at a very specific time. It can't just happen whenever. It has to be at this exact year, at this exact moment. And it's at Laugh Tale, so you got to the location, you just got here too early. And then Roger was like, all that work for this. Oh, man, that's wild. That's nuts. Oh, well, what are you gonna do? I guess I'll go and have a kid, and maybe the kid will make it here. That's Roger's idea anyway. But yeah, something else, though, that Dragon mentioned this. Do you think Dragon knows what's up with Laugh Tale? I know it's always been stated that Roger was the only person to reach Laugh Tale. Him and his crew were the only people to reach Laugh Tale. And from what we saw in the flashback with Odin, Dragon was not a member of Roger's crew or anything. But I still don't think that's entirely impossible. It's not completely impossible that Dragon, with his devil fruit power to control the weather, and with his connections and like the leader of the Revolutionary Army, all the information he has at his disposal, I don't think it's impossible that Dragon also arrived at Laugh Tale at some point, maybe after Roger. And maybe Roger and Dragon were friends, and they even, like pen pals, and they wrote back and forth between each other. Maybe Dragon either knew Roger, and Roger told him about what was on Laugh Tale, and that's how Dragon knows about it. Or Dragon walked on Laugh Tale himself. He walked there, but he saw the same thing that Roger saw, and he's like, damn it, I'm too early. We need to wait. I'm gonna get a Revolutionary Army ready to go, and I'm gonna build up my forces, and when the time comes, we'll be ready to give that answer. That could be the inherited will from Roger, not necessarily going, it is going to Shanks and Luffy, but it could also be going to Dragon. And Dragon knows the time and place, and that's why he's building up his Revolutionary Army right now as much as he is. So that could also be a thing too. It's entirely possible. If you're going to reveal to me that Dragon walked on Laugh Tale, I wouldn't be mad. I'd be like, yeah, he was there, Roger was there, that makes perfect sense. And so, they're just waiting for the right person, and they want it to all be Luffy. I'm sure Dragon wants it to be Luffy that gives the answer. I'm sure Roger, like the Jedi spirit of Roger's like, yes, Luffy, go ahead. I'm sure Shanks would be like, yes, Luffy, it's you. Give the answer, Luffy. It's kind of, your thing. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, chapter 100, really awesome one. I would recommend to go back and reread it for yourselves. Thanks for watching, everybody. And chapter 999 will be happening on Sunday. Tomorrow, Saturday the 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be doing my charity live stream for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. That'll be probably going from 1 to 8 or 1 to 9. Usually go about 8 or 9 hours, so we'll see how that goes there. Thanks for watching and everything. Hope to see you at the stream tomorrow and catch the review on Sunday. It's going to be a busy weekend. Thanks for watching. Tekking and Barry, signing out.